Good morning. I welcome you all to the webinar about a complete overview of Zoho Meeting. In this webinar, you will explore how Zoho Meeting can be used for video conferencing and webinars. Before we get started, please note that the webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared with you shortly. Let's see how you can interact with us today. As an attendee of the webinar, you will all be in listen and view only mode. I hope I'm audible to everybody. Give a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you have any technical difficulty in hearing or viewing the screen. And if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to ask them in the Q&A option on your screen, and our experts will respond to your questions throughout the session. We will also have some time at the end for a dedicated Q&A session as well. As an introduction about myself, this is Kavitha from Zoho Meeting team, and I will be your presenter for today's webinar. I'm having an experience of 2 years in the video conferencing platform, and I'm an expertise in the online meeting and webinar too. Here comes the agenda for today's session. I'm going to start with a brief introduction about Zoho Meeting and how should we use it. With the demonstration of the new version, I will give you a complete walkthrough of Zoho Meeting. Then we will have some scenarios to get an overview on how exactly the module works. Followed by this, we will learn how to set up your account with your corporate branding, add users, and associate profiles. Finally, I'll wrap up the session with a roadmap to show you some of the upcoming features in online meeting and webinar solutions. All right, so here comes the basic system requirements to conduct an online meeting and webinar. Zoho Meeting is a web conferencing solution built to manage both your online meeting and webinar requirements. We use WebRTC technology to host the session right from your browser itself, and it is compatible with Mac, Windows, and Linux. You can use your computer's built-in microphone and speakers, or else you can join the meetings on the go over your phone from any part of the world. Now, we are going to see a brief introduction about our online meeting software. Using Zoho Meeting, you can host online meetings with real-time audio, video, and screen sharing. You can initiate or join meetings from anywhere and collaborate effectively with the moderator controls. So, this online meeting module will be most helpful if you want to conduct a conference, engage in a remote work, and provide remote clinical services to your patients. Right. So now that we have understood how Zoho Meeting can be used as your video conferencing tool, now we are going to see about the overview of Zoho Meeting. This is the home screen of Zoho Meeting. To schedule a meeting, you can log on to meeting.zoho.com, or if you have a Zoho Meeting desktop application installed on your computer, you can use your desktop app as well. In the home page, you can see a Meet Now and Schedule Meeting button in order to get a quick access to your online meetings. And whenever quick decisions are needed, you can conduct instant meetings from anywhere using the Meet Now button. Here, you can easily distinguish which type of conferencing you want to host. You can also now start audio-only meetings by using the audio conferencing option here. If you have selected the audio conference, you can anytime switch to the video conferencing option within the meeting window without moving away from the session. So right now, I'm going to start a meeting and invite my colleagues in my ongoing session. So here I have started the meeting and it will take me to the meeting window directly. And we have done some enhancements where the audio and the video devices will be chosen automatically by remembering the options that you have chosen on your past sessions. So this is how the presenter screen of the meeting window looks like. In order to enhance the ease of access, we have totally revamped the meeting window for you. So right now, I'm going to show you how a participant joins the session. If you'd like to invite someone on your ongoing session, you need not to go back to your meeting details page, because Zoho Meeting provides an option to invite the participants by getting the join link or sending an invite right from the meeting window. So right now, I have copied the link and I'm going to join as a participant for the same meeting. So the moment when I try to join as a participant, it doesn't ask me to download any sort of application, because this is going to launch the session from the browser itself. And the participants will also have an option to choose the virtual background of their choice by using the predefined images and GIFs that we provide. And once done with the audio and the video device selection from the more options, they will be able to continue with the meeting. In addition to this, they will also be able to join the session through the phone audio if they want to overcome their poor internet connection. The phone audio will allow them to dial in through their phone using the dial-in numbers given for the respective countries along with the access code. So right now, I'm going to choose computer audio for this respective meeting and I'm going to click on done. And this is how the participant screen looks like. So now we come back to the presenter screen. On the bottom menu bar, you will be provided with a list of tools and tabs with its respective features. So now we go to the participants tab. So through this, you can see the list of participant names, those who have joined the session. From the more actions provided next to each listing, you can see certain options and controls. Here, you can replace their official names with their nicknames. And the second option is the give control, which is one of the moderator controls provided within the session. This option will be highlighted whenever you do the screen sharing. So this is to take anyone control over your screen to point out something when you do a screen sharing. So this is nothing but a remote access by providing your mouse and keyboard control to them. The third one is to remove the participants from the session when they are no longer part of your discussion. And recently we have released in-session co-host role change through which you can make the participant as a co-host within the session itself. If you're having any other work or have to jump on to another meeting, you can quickly make any of your participants as a co-host and leave the session. Now, coming to the mute icon, you can use the individual mute icon provided next to each participant, or else you can go for the mute all button to mute them in a single click. If you have a bulk volume of participants, you can use the search and sort to search for any respective participant that you're looking for. And the filter icon is to easily categorize the attendees with respect to the devices which they have used to join the session. And if you have started an instant meeting, the session will be titled after your name. So you can make use of the edit icon next to the meeting title to change it as per your requirement. So here I have changed the meeting title, which will be changed the entire meeting title for both presenter and the participants. So now we move on to the next tab, chat. So where you can have a collaborative communication among your participants using this public chat. Moreover, in order to provide you the ease of access, they are provided a tab view to easily navigate the chat, notes, polls, and the attendees from the participants tab itself. So now coming back to the chat option, the participants will also have an option to chat with the presenter as well as with the other participants. And we have the Zoho Click integration in the online meeting chat, where you will have an option to send out the images, share files and documents using the attachment icon. You can also express your thoughts using the emojis that we have provided here. And if you're muted during the meeting to avoid any interruption, you can easily use the microphone icon to send out voice messages through the chat itself. All right, now we are moving on to the notes section. So from the notes, we have introduced the built-in notes feature, which is actually powered by Zoho Notebook. So using this, you can take down any important lectures and points that has been discussed during the session. And you can easily access it once the session is over from your past meeting section. So now we move on to polls. Similar to webinar, we have introduced the polling concept in online meeting through which you can have a quick survey during the meeting or in your conference. So let's imagine an interviewer wants to conduct an online interview with a candidate and he wants to run a test to filter out the matching profile. On this case, the presenter here can also create the questions using this poll and the participants will be able to participate it once the poll is launched. So here I have already created two polls here and I have already launched it. So that will be a pop-up on the participant screen in order to respond to the poll. So once they have responded, the results will be instantly generated on the presenter screen. The presenter will be able to get these results once the session is over. All right, now we move on to the sharing part. The screen sharing is an essential part of collaborating during the online meeting. Anyone in a meeting can share their screen with other participants. Make your whole screen visible to others, you can go for entire screen sharing. Or if you'd like to share any respective application like PowerPoint, Adobe, or any PDF document that you have, you can go for the window sharing. Similarly, the participants will also have an option to share their screen with others. You can also anytime revoke the screen sharing permission from the preferences and also manage the same from your Zoho meeting settings. Now back to the presenter screen. In addition to the screen sharing, we have also recently introduced the whiteboard concept in online meeting module. So this is actually a visual collaboration tool which will help you when you are in the remote work. So right now I have started the whiteboarding here. So this tool will help your participants by providing the communication very much easier. So let's say if you're explaining a tedious application through a demo, you can use the whiteboard to design a workflow about the application so that you can make them to easily understand about the product. So the interesting part here is whatever the things that you share, it will be shared with your attendees as well. And even the attendees will also be able to collaborate with the screen, with the whiteboard thing that you're being shared. So once the whiteboard session is over, you will be able to close the whiteboard, or else you can also save that as an image right from here. So now I'm going to stop sharing the whiteboard. And now we move on to the reactions and raise hand. So recently we have come up with some of the features which makes the session to be more interactive and engaging. The participants and the presenter can now raise their hands to clarify their concerns. Additionally, they can also see and react when someone is speaking. So let's say if you are in the mean of speaking about the demo or explaining about any application, you can just easily go for reacting when someone is speaking. Now we move on to more actions. So from the more actions provided, you can easily change the settings of your current meeting, and you can easily use the other moderator controls that are being provided within the session. So right now I'm going to explain you about what are all the other moderator controls that we have. So previously I have explained you about the give control feature that we have, that is roughly a remote access. So whenever you're sharing the screen, other people can take control over your screen to point out something, and they can also have a troubleshoot on the session as well. So the other thing we are going to see is the lock meeting that we have. So just give me a couple of minutes. I will be explaining the moderator controls within the session. Here we are to the more actions. So here we have the lock meeting option provided over here. So the lock meeting is nothing but a moderator control in order to conduct a secure online meeting and to minimize the interruptions. So through this, you can make your meetings more confidential to keep them secure from unexpected attendees. So you will be notified when someone tries to enter your meeting. So you can let them in only if you want to. So right now I have enabled the lock meeting option, and I'm going to show you a sample on how exactly the lock meeting feature is going to work. So I'm copying the same link and I'm going to join as another participant for the same meeting. So here comes the page where it will be showing that the meeting is locked and waiting for an approval. Now, when you come back to the presenter screen, the presenter will have a pop-up in order to accept or reject the entry. So this participant will not be able to join the session even though if he has the join link. Once the participant gets approval from the presenter, then they can join the session. So you can use this lock meeting option as a waiting room concept for your meeting. So this is another moderator control that we have in the online meeting module. And now we move on to the recording part. So you can record all your meetings to watch them online later, and also you can share it with the members who couldn't attend your meeting. So when you start recording the session, now the participants will be notified with the recording in progress message due to privacy reasons. So this communication is also being shared as a consent whenever they are trying to join the session. So it is just a security and a privacy purpose. So if they don't want to continue the meeting, they can just simply click on the exit button to leave the session. And moreover, I have enabled auto recording functionality for my meeting. So the session starts to record automatically without my intervention. Now we jump on to virtual background. So using the virtual background, you can easily change the background or disable the same in your ongoing session. All right. So now we are going to see a highlighted feature based on a scenario. Here, we have a presenter who got stuck with a meeting and another important work to do. In this situation, Zoho Meeting provides a feature called picture-in-picture mode, where the video feeds and the shared screen will be shown in any application or a browser if you move away from the meeting. So you will get an option to mute or unmute the audio or video and also have an option to end the meeting in this board. So this feature is going to help you to provide a floating window that can be dragged to any corner, as you can see. So through this, you can stay attended to the meeting while engaged with other work on some other site. So now let's come back to the presenter screen. Here we are back to the more actions, and let's talk about network performance. Using the network performance, you can check the performance of your network and how your bandwidth is getting optimized in your current session. And now let's talk about the audio and video settings. So using this tool, you can easily change your microphone or camera devices on your ongoing session itself without ending the meeting. So you need not to end the meeting to change the microphone, which is currently not working. So you can easily change it from the settings itself without terminating the session. And now we are to the layouts. So we have multiple layouts option to view the video feeds of your other participants in gallery view, active speaker, and the sidebar. Now we move on to the last part, which is preferences. There are also other options which can be changed on your current meeting that will be listed under the preferences. So this can be enabled or disabled according to your choice. And once you're done with the meeting, you can click on the exit button to end the meeting for all of your participants. And as the presenter, you can also now leave the meeting by assigning the meeting to another participant as a co-host, and then you can leave the session. All right. As of now, we saw on how to conduct an online meeting. So now I'm going to tell you about a few things in Zoho Meeting based on scenarios. So here comes the scenario one. So let's imagine we have a business HR who had conducted a meeting with his colleagues and looking for a way to access the notes taken down during the session. So here Zoho Meeting provides an option to collect the notes as well as the chat conversations, whiteboards, polls from the past meeting session itself. So let me tell you how. So coming back to the meeting account, here you can click on the past meeting section and you can easily navigate the things which you have done during the session. So when you access this respective meeting, it will show you what is the detail that you want from that meeting. So when you click on the notes, it will provide you with the notes that has been taken down during that session. So instead of searching for these details from other applications, you can easily get it accessed from the past meeting section itself. All right. So now we move on to the scenario 3. A product manager wants to schedule a meeting with his colleague and his product client. For this, you need to access meeting.zoho.com and click on the schedule meeting button. So here on the meetings tab as well, you will find the schedule meeting button, which will take you to the scheduling page. So here you can give a suitable title for your meeting and a detailed description in the agenda. So once done with this, you can choose the date, time, and the duration from the components on how long the meeting will be hosted. So now we come to the host field. By default, you will be the presenter of the meetings that you schedule. So you can also use the drop-down option to assign the presenter role to other members in your organization. So here I'm selecting the drop-down and I can assign that respective meeting to another person in my organization. In case if I'm not available that day, I can just simply provide that meeting to other user to attend that meeting. And now we come to the participant field. Here you can select and invite the members from your contact list. So here we have done an internal integration with Zoho Contacts where you can import your primary and secondary contacts from Gmail, Outlook, and even from a sheet. So whenever you schedule any meeting, these contacts will be auto-suggested on the participants field, as you could see. So all you need to do is just select the participant whom you want to invite for your meeting. So no need to type the email address completely. It will provide you an auto suggestion where you can easily pick them up. So let's say once the meeting is completely scheduled, these listed participants will be receiving an email invite along with a join button in it. So all they need to do is at the time of the meeting, they need to click on the join meeting button to join your session. So right now I'm going to show you a sample email invite, how come it looks like. So it will have an RSVP section. So through this, you can know how many participants will be joining a meeting before you actually begin it. So they will need to click on any of the three options. So based on this, a response email will be triggered to the presenter automatically. And here you will see a join meeting button. So using that button, they will be joining the session at the scheduled time. Now we come back to the scheduling page and now we move on to another scenario. So here we have a managing director of a company wants to discuss about the work progress on each and every month with the same employees. For this, you need not to create a meeting for each and every month individually because Zoho Meeting provides an option to create a recurring meeting from more options. So here you need to enable the toggle and choose the frequency, whether it has to be a daily, weekly, or a monthly meeting. You need to specify when and how the meeting should repeat and when it should end. So this is how it will schedule the recurrences in series with the same link for the entire series. So the participants can use the same link to join the session on each and every month. So there will be no change in the link. They can use the same link to join the session on each and every month and each and every week. All right. So now we move on to the co-host option. We have introduced this co-host feature where you can add your organization users to join the meeting as a co-host. They have most of the controls just like the presenter of the meeting. If you're not available that day or not having an access to your laptop, the co-host can start the meeting on your stead. Besides, you can also set reminders like how long before and reminder email has to be sent. Through this, you can make sure that everybody makes it to your meeting on time before it starts. Now, let me show you how it actually works. So you have already done the scheduled part by providing a topic of the meeting and providing the agenda of the meeting and choosing the participants as well. So right now, when you hit the schedule button, this will take you to the meeting details page. So meeting details page will provide you the details about the topic of the meeting and who is the presenter of the meeting and the participants from the view invited options. So what will happen is whenever the meeting is scheduled, you will have an option to view the details about those who ever invited for that meeting and all. So from here, I'm going to show you what are all the different ways how come a participant will be joining a session. So we have already seen a method where you can invite a participant while scheduling the meeting as well. On this case, if you don't remember the email ID of a participant, you can still ask them to join your meeting. Let me tell you how. So here you can see there will be a link called meet.zoho.com. You can ask the participants to visit meet.zoho.com and ask them to enter the meeting ID provided over here. This is actually a unique key generated for this respective meeting. So with this ID, they can join the meetings from web browsers like Chrome or Firefox. And for security reasons, now all the meetings you schedule will be password protected. The password will be auto-filled and cloaked on the join link URL or the join meeting button when the participant tries to join the session. Now let's see about another method. This is actually a simplest way where you can simply copy the link and send it from your personal email or messaging apps. And there is another way that is only for the invitees who can use the join meeting button sent along with the meeting invite. Coming back to the details page, here at the right side, you can see the edit button where you can reschedule the meeting to postpone the session or do any modifications like inviting more participants as well. Or unfortunately, if you're not available that day to conduct that same meeting, you can simply go for deleting the meeting using the cancel option. So on these modifications, like whenever you reschedule or cancel, the participants will receive an email notifying them about these changes. Coming back to the another one, which is how the events will be saved on your calendar. So by default, all the meetings you schedule will be automatically saved on your email calendar. Let's say if you're a Gmail user, it will be saved on your Gmail calendar. If you're an Outlook user, it will be saved on your Outlook calendar. And in case if you want that event to be added on your personal calendar, let's say if you have a Windows calendar in the sense, you can simply download the ICS from the add to calendar option. So you can import that event easily to your Windows calendar. And we also provide the iframe of this respective join link URL as a widget. So all you need to do is just copy this iframe and paste it on your website so that anyone who visits your website will know about your meeting and they can simply click on the join meeting button to join your session. So this is all about how you can schedule a meeting. And when the time clicks, you can just go for starting the meeting from the meeting portal. So in case if you don't want to access your meeting account, you can simply start the meeting from the presenter invite that you have received on your inbox. So this is how you can schedule a meeting in Zoho Meeting. So now we move on to the last scenario of the online meeting module. So some of you would like to want the previous meeting to be conducted again in the future. So for this, you need not to create a new one by filling the details all over again. To achieve this, we provide you an option in the past meeting section So which will help you to clone the past meeting that has been happened in the future. So cloning the meeting is nothing but what is the participants topic of the meeting will be carried to the future meetings as well. So here you will have an option to repeat the meeting that has been provided over here. So using this, you will have an option to clone the meeting. So not only an option to clone the meeting, you can easily navigate the chat conversations, notes, whiteboard sessions that has been shared on your past meeting section as well. In addition to this, you can also join the meetings if you have been invited by any organization user. So let me tell you how you need to navigate to that. So here from the meetings tab, when you go for upcoming meetings, just select invited meetings from the drop down. So using the join button, you can join the session directly from the meeting account itself. So this will help you to save your time instead of searching for the join link from your inbox or from your calendar. Moreover, we have come up with a revamped view of the meeting listing page, which will help you to enhance the mode of access. So let's say if you have enough large number of the past meeting sessions that happened in the past, you can easily navigate them by sorting it out based on the title, date, as well as with the range. Now it's time for some question and answers. Please use the Q&A tab to ask your questions, and we have a dedicated person to assist you here. So currently we saw about how to conduct the meeting and schedule the sessions in advance. So please do let us know if you have any questions about any of the features that I have mentioned right now. And in the meantime, we are also going to the next module on how to schedule the webinars. So as of now, we saw on how to host and schedule the online meeting in Zoho Meeting. So now we are going to the next topic on how to schedule the webinars using the same Zoho Meeting. So before we get on to this, let's have a short introduction about a webinar software. Once you schedule your webinar, you can generate the leads by posting the registration link onto your website, blog, and social media. You can engage the leads throughout the session using polling and Q&A features. You can also now stream your ongoing webinar in YouTube in order to have a wider reach for your session. So, using our webinar tool, you can conduct the webcasting events, online events, workshop, or a training session. All right. So now we are going to see about the overview of the webinar module. So here comes the homepage of Zoho Meeting, the same one, which is meeting.zoho.com. So when you click on the webinars tab, instead of meetings, you will have upcoming webinars, past webinars, and analytics, which will give you the webinar reports. So right now, let me show you how to schedule the webinars. So when you click on the schedule button, you will be redirected to the scheduling page, where you can now design your webinar planning in a step-by-step process. So the first step is scheduling, where you can give a suitable topic for your webinar and a brief explanation of the major points that you will cover in the description. You can choose the date, time, and the duration on how long the webinar will be organized. And from the recurring webinar, you can just select the frequency here, whether it has to be a daily, weekly, or a monthly webinar. Unlike meeting, here we have an option of registration type. So this differentiates whether you need a single registration for a series of webinar or an individual registration for a recurring webinar. So here you can choose either you need a for every event or only once from here. So once done with the first step, you can click on next to add the other details as well. So the second step is adding co-organizers for your webinar. While hosting a webinar, you can lighten your load by adding co-organizers to your session. So you can add as many co-organizers to your webinar and they need not to have a Zoho Meeting account for it. You can just launch the webinar and they can take control by sharing the screen, showing the webcam. They can also talk during the session as well. They can also make the attendees engage during the session. So here I'm adding a co-organizer. Once you add a co-organizer, that respective person will receive an invitation email like this. Using the join webinar button, they will be joining the session at the scheduled time. And now we come back to the scheduling page. If they have mistakenly deleted this email in the sense, no need to worry. You can just simply go ahead and resend the invite which has been already sent to them. And instead of sending an email, you can just directly copy the join link and send it across to them. So they can simply click on the link and they can join the webinar as a co-organizer. So now let's discuss about what a co-organizer can do. The co-organizer can co-host the presentations. They can answer the questions from your attendees, launch polls, record webinars, and also make an attendee to speak during the session. So here, We click on skip and finish to step into the final process, or else you can click on next to add the further details. So here I'm clicking on skip and finish. This will take me to the webinar details page. So here you can see what are all the options that has been provided on the scheduling as well. So you can add these details while scheduling the webinar, or else you can take rough time whenever you want the customizations to be done from the details page. So you can take your own time, you can do the customizations for your webinar. So right now I'm going to walk you through the registration process. So whenever you create a webinar, it provides you a unique registration link that can be sent to your target audience. So here comes the registration link. Then you copy, and this is how the registration form looks like. So it will have the form fields, and if you have already customized the logo from your Zoho meeting settings, it will have the logo at the left, and it will have the title of the webinar and the other details. So once they have registered, they will be taken to the landing page. This is how it looks like. So the registrant can join the webinar through this page, or they can join the webinar using the confirmation email, which is already sent to them. So whenever they have registered, they will be automatically been receiving the confirmation email. This is how it looks like. So using the join webinar button, they will be joining your session. And now we come back to the registration landing page. They will also have an option to add their events to Google, Yahoo, Zoho, and Outlook calendar. And if they need any clarification, they will have an option to contact the organizer of the webinar using the email address displayed at the bottom. Right now, I'm going to take you to an important feature about the registration moderation. Because as of now, you have seen how the person registers for the webinar. So here comes the moderation setup. This is actually a feature in order to qualify and then bring the right audience for the webinar. So by default, this respective setting remains in automatic mode. So when you go for manual moderation, you will get to review the registration first, and then finally you can approve or deny them by manually. So now let me show you an example on how exactly the manual moderation works. So here you can compare the difference between these two pages on how exactly the automatic moderation and manual moderation looks like. So this register needs to wait for the organizer to confirm the registration first. Until then, this registrant will not be getting the confirmation email. And as the organizer, you can manage and track those registrations from the details page. So here at the top, you can find the total number of registrations and what is the pending approval here. So when you click on pending approval, it will show you the list of registrants whose status are yet to be accepted. So when you click on the name, here you can review it first. Then you can approve or deny the registrant. And from the approved tab, you can see the list of registrants whose status has been already accepted. So let's say if that registrant mistakenly deleted that email, you will have an option to get the join link right from that here. And if you have any last minute change, if you don't want that registrant to attend your webinar, you can deny the registration at any time. If you'd like to get the complete list on a CSV file, you can also download it to your local machine using the export option. Right. So now let's see some of the features in Zoho webinar based on scenarios. So here, a sports equipment manufacturing company has organized a webinar to launch their new product. For marketing purposes, the product marketer of this company is looking for a way to find the registrants where exactly they come from. So there will be a source where you will be getting a lot of registrants comparing to the other source that you have provided. So on such case, here Zoho Webinar provides you a feature called source tracking. So here you need to go to the bottom, and where you will find an option called source tracking. Using the source tracking add source option, you need to add a source. Let's say if your source name is Facebook, you need to provide that name and click on add. Once done, you will be getting a unified link for that Facebook page. So I have already created two of the sources for this respective webinar, which will provide me a unified link that has to be pasted on the LinkedIn and as well as to my blog. So based on this, you will be getting a total count on the number of visitors and the registrants. So this feature is going to help you to get a valuable information from where your registrants come from, and finally helps you in the business growth. All right. So now we move on to the scenario 2. So here comes the scenario 2, and here you're going to learn how to customize the email templates for the different emails sent to your registrants and attendees. So now we are going back to the same webinar details page. where you will have an option called email section. Here you need to click on the customize email, where you can customize the email template sent to your audience during the entire course of your webinar. So not all the emails, but some of the emails can be customized. Let's say confirmation emails, reminder emails, and follow-up emails can be customized. So when you click on the customize email, it will take you to the email customization page. So here you can create the template on your own using the insert or plain text option, or else you can go for the predefined templates that we already provide. For an instance, let me show you a sample email invite which I have customized. This is how it looks like, and you can customize it with your own branding by uploading your company logo, adding company profiles to let them know about your organization. And also you can attach some documents if you want to send it to your attendees. So this is actually a thank you and a follow-up email template. Let's say if you're conducting a workshop, if you want to provide a certificate for the workshop they have attended, you can easily make use of the attachment icon here. So you can send out that certificate along with the thank you email template. So not only an option to customize the emails, you can also set reminders like how long before an email reminder has to be triggered. So you can also set multiple reminders by choosing when that reminder email has to be sent, and you can also enable the same. We move on to the another scenario. Some of you would like to include the recording of the webinar to be sent out to your absentees and attendees post your session. So for this, you need not to run a separate campaign by creating it manually, because Zoho Webinar allows you to set up the recording link in the follow-up email. Let me tell you how. So you need to access the same email section from the details page. So when you click on the toggle next to the follow-up template, you will have an option to enable the include recording toggle. Here you need to choose how long after the thank you email has to be sent to your attendees. So once it is done, you need to make sure that whether the thank you email template has the recording link or not. So all you need to do is just click on the edit icon, which will take you to the customization page. So here is the one which I have customized, but all you need to do is just hover the mouse and select use, so that this template will be sent to your attendees once the session is over. And using the preview option, you can easily have a preview about what is the template that you have customized. So you can easily check the recording link has been already included. And if you'd like to create another template by adding more contents to it, you can just clone the template using the option. Right. So now we move on to the scenario 4. So in this scenario, you're going to learn how to set up the restrictions for your registrations. Since we have a mandatory registration process for the webinar, you can use the registration settings to limit the number of registrations. So here, when you go to the top, you will find an option called restrict registrations. So using this option, you can restrict the registrations based on business email ID, domain, and the country. For example, if you want the registrations to be from India, you can just choose India from the allowed countries. Similarly, you can also block the registrations from certain countries. And you can also have an option to set the limitation on the number of registrations. So once the webinar has reached the specified count, it will not further allow any registrations. Moreover, you can also avoid the spammers by allowing the registrants to join the session only from confirmation email. So you can enable the lost toggle, so they will not be able to join the session from the landing page. Now we move on to the another scenario here. So in this scenario, you're going to learn how to keep your attendees engaged during the session and also make your attendees to take action right after your webinar. So to keep the attendees engaged during the session, you can create the polls from the engagement section. So here we have the engagement section at the top. You can add a poll here. So we provide 3 different types of poll. One is single choice, multiple choice, and another one is star rating. You can use a single or a multiple choice vote to let your audience to choose from a set of answers. Or else you can go for a star rating poll to let your audience to indicate how much they like about your feature, product, session, etc. So I'm going to create a poll right now, and depending upon your requirement, you can also create any number of polls using the add poll option. And now at the top, we have session materials. So session materials is nothing but you can share that materials without going for the screen sharing. So before you actually begin the webinar, you can easily upload the documents like a PDF files and the video files before you jump onto the session. So here I'm going to upload some documents. and I'm going to click on attach. Not only an option to upload it from your library, because I have already uploaded some documents in my library. That is why it's getting listed out here. If you have your own work drive, we have a Zoho work drive account linked over here. So if you have a Zoho work drive application already purchased, in the sense, you can easily access it from that Zoho work drive account itself. And if you can also, if you have some documents on your machine, you can also easily access it from your desktop. So I'm accessing from library and I've already chosen some documents and I'm clicking on attach. So here you need to ensure whether the right PDF file and a video file has been uploaded or not. So we have provided you a preview option over here. And if you want to delete it, you can also make use of the delete icon to delete it from the session materials. And now we're going to see an important feature on how to make an attendee to be engaged after the session. So we have an option called post-webinar redirection, where you can redirect your attendees to your website at the end of your webinar. So where you can engage them to sign up for your product or show them about your offers and provide ratings and feedbacks as well. So if you have a pricing already prefixed for the application that you're providing the demo, you can just redirect them to the pricing page. So here you need to enable this and enter the URL where you want to direct your attendees once the session is over. So now we are going to step on to the last stage on how to promote the webinar. Here comes the registration link, which can be sent out to your target audience via email, social media, and also the blogs. So here we also provide you the embed widget for the webinar registration that you have created. So let me show you, we have two different things for the embed widget. One is iframe and another one is the source code. So here, using the source code, you can entirely customize the registrations that can be embedded onto your website. So any people who visits your page will know about your webinar and they will register for it. And we have also have the another method of promoting the webinar, which is nothing but integrating your Zoho webinar account with Zoho campaigns. So here we have a Zoho campaigns integration that can be integrated from the portal as well. And if you have the Zoho campaigns application already purchased, you can send out email campaigns to engage them before and after your webinar. All right. So now we move on to the another one, which is sharing the webinar registration link with your Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter profiles. So without moving away from the tool, you can easily access it from this page as well. So this is all about how you can create a webinar and how to customize the webinar from this respective page. And once the time starts, you can just click on the start button, which will take you to the webinar window directly. So here we have a launcher page. So where you can choose whether you need to launch the webinar on your browser or else from the desktop app. So the purpose of using the desktop app is we have the floating controls for webinar that can be shown on the shared screen. So that option is available in the desktop app. So whatever the page you go, the webinar controls and the video feeds will be on the shared screen. So you can easily check the reactions of your co-organizers, as well as you can just stay connected to the webinar controls by answering the questions as well as to the polls as well. But right now I'm going to launch the session from the browser. So this will take me to the source page where I need to choose the audio and the video devices. So this will take some time, and here I need to click on the devices that has been connected to my system. So similar to meeting, we also have the virtual background feature for webinar that can be chosen from here. And you can also apply effects to the video feed right from here. So once done with the source selection, you can click on proceed, which will take you to the organizer screen. And I will also have an option to start sharing the screen from the beginning of the webinar itself. So once I click on proceed, this will take me to the organizer window. This is how it looks like. So right now, I'm going to walk you through how a registrant will be joining the webinar as an attendee. Coming back here, I have already registered for this webinar, and I'm going to click on the join webinar button here. So the moment when I click on the join webinar button, it doesn't ask me to download any application because this is going to launch the session from my browser itself. So they will be in listen only mode and they need to click on the join now button to join your session. And this is how an attendee screen looks like. So now we come back to the presenter screen. On the bottom, you can see there will be a start broadcast button. So though you have started the webinar, you will get to have a practice session with your co-organizers before you actually begin it. So let's say if you want to just test whether the audio, video, and screen sharing is working or not, then practice session is the best thing that you do before you start the webinar. So until you click on this button, attendees will have a page saying waiting for the webinar to broadcast. And they will not be able to hear or see the audio, video, and screen. So this can be used as a communication among yourselves. So you can easily see there is a video feed which is already turned on the organizer window. But from the attendee point of view, the attendee is not able to see the video yet because it is in practice session mode. And once you're ready to present, you can click on the start broadcast button. And now the webinar will be broadcasted to all of your attendees. From the left panel of the organizer screen, attendees tab will contains a list of all the attendees, those who have joined the session. So using the search and sort, you can search for any respective participant or an attendee that you're looking for. And from the more actions provided, you can see certain options and controls next to each and every attendee. So by default, as I already told you, they will be in listen and view only mode. They will not be able to talk. But you can make any attendee to communicate during the session by sharing the screen, showing the webcam, and talking. So on doing this, it will make your session to be more interactive and engaging. Besides, attendees can also use raise hand option as a signal in order to get the attention of the organizer, just like a physical classroom. So we are in the attendee screen right now. So attendee will have a raise hand option. So there will be a hand icon next to the attendee who has actually used it. So this is like whenever they have any doubts, they used to raise their hands and the teacher will be able to clarify on that. So similar to that, we have it in the webinar. So if they have any doubt, they can raise their hands. You can give the permission like allow to talk or allow to talk with video to make them get communicated during the session. All right. So now we move on to the another one, which is making the participants as a co-organizer on your session. So you can make any attendee as a co-organizer on your ongoing session. And also we have an option to remove the attendee from the webinar when they are no longer part of the session. Now we are moving to the filter icon, which is easy to categorize your attendees who have raised their hands and have been allowed to talk during the webinar. And we move on to the Q&A tab. The webinar attendees can ask any questions from the Q&A portal from their end. So once a question is raised, they will have an option to ask the question anonymously. So here they can enable the toggle of ask anonymously and the questions will be anonymized. And here, once they raise the questions, this will get populated on the organizer screen. Now we are back to the organizer screen right now. So the organizers and the co-organizers can simply answer the questions either as publicly or privately. If you have bulk volume of questions, you can use the pre-defined templates that we provide. And as the organizer, you can send useful links, text, or email address to your attendees throughout the session using this broadcast message. In order to simplify the answering process, you can also now assign your questions to another co-organizer. So same people need not to answer the questions at the same time. So, different persons need not to answer the questions at the same time. So on this case, you can simply assign the question to your other co-organizers to answer the question. And moreover, if you feel like the question is unnecessary to your session, you can go for declining the questions as well. And you can also set priority like high, medium, or low, where you can make the answering process in priority. Now we move on to polls. In order to get a valuable insights from your audience, you can either creating the poll using the add poll option. So you can also create a poll in case if you have failed to create any before you begin the session. You can also create a live poll using the add poll option, or else you can start the poll which you have already created before you begin the webinar. Right now I have launched the poll and there will be a pop-up on the attendee screen in order to respond to that poll. So once they have responded, the results will be instantly generated on the organizer screen. So now we move on to settings where you can easily change your microphone or the camera devices in your ongoing session itself. Similar to meeting, you can also see the performance of your network from the connectivity option. So it will show you the list on how the bandwidth is getting optimized and the performance of your network as well. Right now, we are going to quickly jump onto a scenario here. As of now, we saw on how to broadcast the webinar within the application. What if you want to have a real-time engagement on your session? Because Zoho Webinar provides you a live streaming option on YouTube. In order to have a wider reach for your product and maximize your audience, you can stream your ongoing webinar in your YouTube channel. So you need to configure the webinar with your YouTube channel. Once it is done, you can go for start streaming your webinar in your YouTube. Right now, we're going to see how to check the notifications when your tab is minimized. So right now I have minimized my tab, but still you will be able to see the notifications from the toolbar with respect to the number of attendees, number of raised hands, as well as the number of questions raised by your attendees. So this will help you to analyze your overall attendee engagement. Right now, we're going to see about the live reactions. Using the visual feedback through live reactions from the attendee screen, you will be able to see the reactions of your participants about the demo or an application that you're going to represent. So here they can react to the messages to the organizer's speech, and the organizer can easily check their reactions when you specifically provide a demo or a speech. So coming back to the organizer screen, right now I'm going to show you how to start sharing your screen and the material. So here you will have a share option where you can either share your entire screen or the window sharing. So similar to meeting, we have entire screen sharing as well as the window sharing as well. Without going for the entire screen sharing, you can just represent only the PDF files or the video files that you have already included. So instead of going for this, you can just go for the session materials as well. And here I have uploaded these files from the webinar details page, which I have already shown you. So here I'm going to play a video right now. Here comes the video. You can just click on the play button. So if you'd like to pause the video feed, you can also go for pausing and resuming that later if you want to give a break to that video. And once done with playing the video, you can click on the end button at the top. So now we are moving on to the recording part. At the top, you can find the recording button where you can record the webinar and send it to anyone who couldn't attend your session. If you're organizing the webinar as a sales group, you can share the webinar recording as a product demo or helpful video for new users. And we have auto recording functionality for webinar as well, where you can start recording the session automatically without your intervention. You can also now view the video feeds of your other co-organizers in multiple layouts like gallery view and the sidebar. And once you're done with the webinar, you can click on the end webinar button to end the session for all of your attendees. So once the webinar is over, now we are coming back to the analytics tab. So where you will get a list of all the registrants, attendees, poll results, and Q&A from the analytics. So this will provide you a detailed report about your webinar where you can easily access it from your Zoho Meeting account itself. So let me show you a sample report that we have. So this tab will contain a list of the registrants, those who have registered for your webinar, their registered time, the registration status, whether it has been accepted or pending, and even whether they have attended the webinar or not. So through this, you can easily calculate the attendance data for your webinar. Now we move on to attendees tab, which will provide the list of attendees, those who have joined your session, the duration on how long they have been in the session, the polls responded by them, and the questions raised by your attendees. Polls contains a list of the polls and the results given by your attendees. And from the Q&A, you will get the list of all the questions and the answers given by your organizer and the co-organizers. And if you'd like to get a complete performance report of your webinar for your organization, you can easily download it as an XLS or CSV files. Now we move on to the another one, which is recordings. So this is the another tab, and here we are to the recordings tab. As of now, we saw on how to host and schedule the meetings and webinars in Zoho Meeting. So now we are going to learn on how to revisit that topic that you have discussed during the session. So from my recordings, you can see the list of all the session recordings of your meetings and webinars individually. You can replay the recordings online using the play option, or else you can share the recording link with the members who couldn't make it to your session. So here you can copy the link and send it from your personal email or messaging apps. You can also download the recordings to your local machine to save it as an MP4 format for offline use. And if you'd like to delete the recordings to free some space, you can make use of the delete icon provided next to each listing. We have also come up with some of the features on the recordings tab. So the first one I would like to show is accessibility permission. So we have accessibility permission for the respective recordings, but you can disable the public access few days after sharing the link. So they will not be able to view the recording again whenever they are accessing it few days again. And the other one we have is the bulk recording. So instead of deleting the recordings one by one, we provide you the bulk recording option where you can choose the bulk recording here. So you can choose the recordings in bulk and delete them in mass. Currently, we saw about how to initiate the sessions from the web browser. So I have used Chrome browser to launch both my meetings and webinars. So right now we are going to learn about what are all the several ways of joining the session. So we have Zoho Meeting iOS and Android app to get connected remotely when you don't have an access to your laptop or a desktop. So you can use Zoho Meeting mobile applications to hold meetings, attend live webinars, participate in polls, make video calls, and much more. So all this can be done from the Zoho Meeting mobile application. Let's see how you can set up your Zoho Meeting account and customize it as per your requirement. So right now we are going to step on to the last tab, settings. So here comes the settings tab, and from my settings, you can easily set up the local information such as the time zone of your location and the time format by making it as a default option for the future meetings and webinars that you schedule. So we also have the multi-language support in order to avoid the language barriers. So we provide an option to choose the preferred language from your Zoho Meeting account itself. So below that, you can see an option to sync your meetings and webinars to your Google Calendar. If you have a Gmail account, you can just simply enable this option and you can have the future meetings and webinars to your Google Calendar automatically. So if you have a personal account apart from an official account, you can make use of this sync to Google Calendars. You can also see the other meeting and webinar related settings provided on my settings that can be enabled or disabled according to your choice. So since it is a user-based setting, these options will be available to all the users in your organization. So now we move on to the next tab, Manage Organization. So from here, you can upload your organization logo and your name, where it will be reflected on the email headers of the invitations and reminders, as well as on the registration forms. So next to co-branding, we have custom domain as well, where you can have a unique branded name on the URL, which identifies your website. So the options provided under Manage Organization will be available only to the admin user of the organization. Under user management, you can manage all the users and their respective profiles. So here you can add or remove any users from your organization who has left the company. So through this tab, you can designate the roles of each users as well in order to maintain the organization hierarchy. So we have three different roles and profiles in Zoho Meeting, which is super administrator, administrator, and a member. So all of the three people will have their unique roles in this respective Zoho Meeting account. Now we move on to departments. So this is a newly released feature which will allow you to create and categorize your entire organization into small groups. So some of the people will have a lot of people belong to the organization. So for those users, this will be most helpful. You can just create a department using the add department option and add any number of people to this respective department. So this will help you to increase the ease of managing the users. So I have created some of the departments here and I can link two or three people to the same department. Now we move on to email section. So under email section, you can add reply to email address for your webinar to which the registrants can reply to clarify their concerns. The reply to email address can be of a team, department, or members in your organization who can answer the queries instantly. So this makes the process simple by handing over the job to your team members. So the organizer need not to look into the replies. You can add a reply to address where that respective person can take care of the response from the registrants. Now we move on to security. So this tab will help you to anonymize all the personal data such as name, email address, IP address, and other registration related information. And from the action log viewer, you can see the list of activities performed by the users in your organization. So you can also sort the activities performed by the users and the date when it was performed. Now we move on to integrations. So Zoho Meeting provides integration with other Zoho products such as CRM, bookings, campaigns, mail, backstage, projects, sprints, connect, marketing automation. So now we are going to see the most of the frequently used integration in Zoho Meeting. CRM. We have meeting and webinar integration in CRM where you can push the registrants as leads and contacts in your CRM account. Bookings. You can integrate Zoho bookings with online meeting through which you can share the booking links with your clients to let them book appointments with you at their convenience. For every appointment they book, a meeting will be created on your Zoho meeting account. Mail. With the online meeting integration with Zoho Mail, you can schedule and host online meetings directly from your inbox. So let's say if you have received an email from your manager and if you want to talk about that content with your manager in the sense, you can just simply click on the widget and schedule a meeting with your manager as well. And we also have an integration with a third party major application. So not only the integration with Zoho products, we also have the integrations with the other applications as well. And one of them is Microsoft Teams. So using this integration, you can conduct instant meetings with your people directly from your Teams channel. Now, moving back to the homepage of Zoho Meeting. Now, let's see how you can communicate with your organization users using the chat option. So you can use the chat tab provided on your meeting account to communicate with your organization users. So without stepping onto a meeting, you can collaborate with them effectively if you got engaged with any other work. You can also see the download icon at the top, which will help you to download the desktop app right from here. So through the desktop app, you can overcome the browser limitation and enjoy the session with better stability and optimization. We also have the Zoho Meeting plugin for Microsoft Outlook. So using this, you can just directly download the plugin from here and schedule appointments from your Outlook calendar. And here we are to the roadmap, and these are all the features which are being handled in our upcoming update. First, we are going to see for webinars. And in addition to the share material feature, we are also working on with the presentation upload through which you can share a PPT without going for the screen sharing. Registration less webinar. Using this feature, attendees can join the webinar without going for the registration. The third one is cloning the webinar. Similar to meeting, we are also going to come up with the repeating the past webinar to happen in the future. Now, we're going to see the features currently handled in meeting module. Screen share and recording pause. As of now, we only have the ability to start and stop the screen sharing and recording. But with this feature, you can also now pause and resume the screen sharing and recording whenever you want. Share material. Similar to webinar, we are working on with the PPT and the PDF sharing without going for the screen sharing. Private chat. Currently, we are providing only an option to chat publicly with your participants. But with this option, you will have an option to chat privately, and that will be developed soon in our meeting module. Right now, we're going to see the features which are commonly handled for both. The first one is screen share optimization. We're currently working on with some enhancements on the screen share module to provide a better picture. Custom backgrounds. Besides the predefined backgrounds that we have, we are also working on with the option to upload the custom images as well. So using this, you can upload your logo as a background whenever you are conducting a video conference or a video webinar. It's time for some question and answer. Please ask your questions and we will be happy to help you out. So in today's session, we have seen how to organize the webinars and conduct an online meeting in Zoho Meeting. Kindly let us know if you have any questions about any of the features that I have mentioned today. And in the meanwhile, we're also going to see some of the frequently asked questions and the answers related to it. So here comes the question number 1 that is related to on how to annotate during the meeting. So the answer to this question is both the presenter and the participants can share a whiteboard through which you can annotate, draw, and sketch. And this question is related to the background image of the video feed during the session. So as discussed earlier, you can select the predefined images and GIFs and also apply effects to the video feed in both meeting and webinar. So here comes the last question about the security and privacy in online sessions. So the answer is Zoho Meeting is absolutely secure. because this tool offers you the multiple security features to keep your meetings safe from disruption. So we have already discussed about the password protected meetings and also how you can lock your meetings before you step onto the session. And Zoho Meeting also encrypts the audio, video, and screen sharing to keep your information safe during the session. I hope you all have enjoyed this webinar. You can share your experience in social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can also reach us at support@zohomeeting.com if you have any further clarification.